Okay, you guys, big news bears. We've been talking about all this stuff for a really long time because we are in eclipse season. We are in between the one we just had and the one we are about to have. And I was really ruminating on it this morning and thinking about what a south node eclipse, which is going to be a lunar eclipse, which is going to be a full moon, what this means, and the only thing that was popping into my head as I've been having kind of a tough weekend with my kids is that song that we used to sing, the going on a bear hunt, we're gonna catch a big one, because the line, you can't go over it, you can't go under it, you're just gonna have to go through it. And the notion of I'm not scared because I'm scared. Like, let's be real. A big old fatty lunar eclipse in Scorpio is going to ask us to look at some shit that maybe we don't want to look at. Human nature is to avoid the elephant in the room a little bit. I feel as though we spend a lot of our day-to-day realities keeping the ghosts at bay, doing the things, making assumptions about where everybody else is at in space and time. I think a lot about relationships and how we assume that the people that we're relating to and being in relationship with must somehow have this innate understanding of where we're at. And the truth is that that's just not true. It's an assumption that we make that the people we are in relationship with get us to a T, because it's impossible to be inside of someone else's body, heart, and mind. My cats are going crazy in the background. I think that's fitting. The deal is that this eclipse, there is no way to get around it. There's no way to get on top of it or under it. We're just going to all have to go through it together. And that's going to require a lot of catharsis, because Scorpio does not fuck around, you guys. Scorpio gives zero fucks about if you're ready, about if you want it, about if you are looking at it or not. It's like energy is going to take your chin and it's going to turn you right towards it. Now, I can't tell you the bullseye of where it's going to because I don't have everybody's charts right in front of me. But it's going to be a different flavor for everybody, and yet catharsis is the word, Whatever we don't want to look at is going to get looked at, and sometimes we don't even know what we're not looking at. Sometimes we don't even know all of our own ghosts, and getting to know them can be kind of scary. I think that's the whole notion of monsters under the bed, of things in the closet, of things swept under the rug. All of these terms are blanket statements for Scorpio vibes, you guys. And there's no way to completely, properly prepare for everything that's coming around the bend, because there is no way to do that. Eclipses affect us collectively, and they deeply affect us interpersonally and just inside personally. There's so many things going on in the next few weeks, and have been going on, that I always hate to be like, well, there's more, kids. There's always going to be more. But the truth is, that's the growth of us as a nation, of us as a world, of us as a human species. I mean, evolution wants us to shift, change, and do things differently. We can't always just do things the same way. And that takes a lot of righteousness, that I think a lot of us don't have right now. We've all been kind of stripped to the nuts and bolts of our lives with everything that's happened around us. And this eclipse is going to force us to look at things that maybe don't feel so comfortable to look at, but definitely need to get worked through. So the thing I always say about an eclipse is the good news is it is fated, right? There is absolutely nothing you can do that is going to make this not happen to you, whatever it is. I'll be so curious. I hope you guys will message me and tell me what the it is for you. The only thing you can do and know is that it's coming. And then you get to take responsibility for how presently you want to be living. You get to take responsibility for how this is going to affect you in one way or the other, to brace for the hit, so to speak. And when I say brace for the hit, I don't mean like work out extra or, have really hard conversations right away. What I mean is to find within yourself a reservoir where you can retreat to and be absolutely here for whatever it is that's going to pop up. You know, if we want to evolve to our best and better selves, we really have to accept the fact that we have to go through some thickets, through some self-realizations. If we're always trying to get through our day-to-days as unscathed as possible, then we're not really leveling up. You know, capacity is an interesting thing, right? One person says, ugh, I didn't sleep well last night. This person maybe has no kids, you know, no life that forces them to be up at any particular time. And so to the people that have had kids, colicky kids, and know what a real sleepless night to them feels like, isn't going to have as much compassion for the person that has never had kids and never had a schedule that dictates the kind of sleepless nights that the other person has had. But that's what I like to call capacity, because if you don't go through it, you don't build the capacity to endure it. If you don't go through it, you don't build the capacity to endure it. I hope this is making sense, because that person who had a sleepless night, who doesn't have kids, who has never had like months of sleepless nights because of colicky kid, is still really tired, still had a terribly sleepless night, and still has the right to be as tired as the person who has insomnia, who has chronic physical pain, who has had children, and has a completely different threshold of what a sleepless night looks like. Their capacities are just different, right? So compassion is the word that comes up a lot. You know, we can only deal with what we have capacity for in that moment. And so I like to think of this eclipse as a capacity builder. You know, these aren't necessarily bad things. They're hard things, they're intense things, they're world-changing things. But when we are building our capacity within ourselves, we become the most upgraded version of ourselves. And that is rad, you guys. You know, it's like you don't want to see, and then you're forced to see, but at least you know. And I am that kind of girl, Scorpio rising over here. Like, I'm so here for it, whatever that level up is, even if I'm a little bit afraid of it, because I have a lot of grief in my body that's under processed. And I know I'm going to have to pay the piper. I know what I've been taking out of my collective internal savings account. I know what I'm going to have to pay for later. And that doesn't make it easier, but it certainly makes me surrender to the process. Maybe a titch better than people that are going to get knocked off their socks, you know? So here's this video to give you this pre-warning so that you don't feel like it just comes out of nowhere. At least, or if it does, and it's a surprising shift, at least you can have the capability to be like, oh yeah, I knew something was coming. Okay, here it is. Now what are you gonna do about it? I don't know what to tell you to do about it. Let's talk about some of the other astrology that is hindering, supporting, creating ultimate extra hijinks for you. Is that, as we all love, Mercury's going retrograde. So listen, Geminis and Mercury get a really bad rap. You poor guys, you really don't get seen for like the really good things that you bring, because you're freaking retrograding and you're freaking being here, there, and everywhere. And so some of us that don't like that are gonna be taken aback by you. And so you're gonna get judged in the astrological world also for being that kind of thing, person, being, whatever. Mercury's going retrograde on Tuesday. The way I like to think of Mercury retrograde, it's not always so scary. You know, I like to think of, if something hasn't been working right, Mercury retrograde is going to make it really not work right, because it's going to say, this system doesn't work. You need a new system. That's very inconvenient, especially in the technological world. It's very inconvenient in our interpersonal world when you can't communicate properly, or your car can't get you someplace in the timeliness that you need it to, or your computer crashes when you're in the middle of a really important Zoom call. This is annoying. I hear you. Coyote energy is never fun. But if you can laugh at yourself, if you can brace yourself and move a little bit slower this month, because it's all the way to June, folks. Mercury is going to be retrograde all the way to June. So just chill out, embrace what is, let the cups that need to break, and don't, it's really also a highlight of our attachments, right? Because we all have a level of attachment to something or other. And Mercury retrograde likes to take the string of that attachment and go bing, 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 and maybe crack it a little bit. Because the harder we're holding on to something, the more it's going to want us to let go of it. I just think that is the cosmic way of things, that whatever you're holding on to really intensely needs you to loosen it a little bit. Maybe spend some time this morning or tomorrow or this week or this month thinking about, what do I feel really attached to and why? And that way, when these things, it's so interesting because astrology really works for us, not against us. Astrology really tries to be the flashlight into the dark places that we can't see so well. And I know that sometimes we resist against that and we get really angry or upset that these things are happening. And Mercury retrograde, we just had an eclipse. We just had COVID. We've just had everything happen to us that a Mercury retrograde doesn't feel nice. I don't want to be late to things. I don't want my phone to fall in the toilet. I know you don't either. However, maybe you shouldn't bring your phone near the toilet. And if you do, maybe the universe doesn't want you communicating that day. That's a really horrible example. I hope that never happens to me or you or anybody this week. And if it does, I'm sorry, because that blows. But these are the kind of things that happen in Mercury retrograde, because if we're not slowing down, because if we're not reflecting, because if we're not preparing for this eclipse, then it's really going to nail us, guys. Ouch, it's going to hurt. And I don't want you to be hurt. Only in the good ways, only in the leveling up ways. Okay, so Mercury's going to be retrograde. It's in its sign of Gemini. So we start out Mercury retrograde feeling a little more powerful than maybe normal Mercury retrograde. So that's good job, us. Yay, maybe it's not going to be so bad. Well, then it's going to retrograde back into Taurus. That's kind of a sticky spot, right? Because Taurus likes to take things slow. Taurus needs to truly understand the full picture, which on the one hand is good for eclipse season because we're going to be getting shown some shit. And Taurus is going to want us to take it in a slower way. Bad news bears is if you don't want to do that, if you're resisting that, if you want to just push on through and push and push and push, Mercury's going to push you back, bro. You're going to get a bitch smack and it's not going to feel good. So just try. This is so hard for me. I'm all air. Just try to take it slow though. Just try when your thoughts start running away with you or that conversation starts going south, that you just rewind, think about how you'd want to be communicated with and try again. That's the best thing about Mercury retrograde is if at first you don't succeed, try again. These quotes are so good for astrology because I can pull one out of my ass at any moment and they always are fitting for whatever's going down. Also, big news bears that's happening this week is Jupiter is going from where it was exalted. It was so beautiful. It was so yummy in Pisces. All the artistic expression and being on the same wavelength and wanting to create is kind of gonna shift a little bit because it's moving into Aries, and Aries wants to get shit done. So does Jupiter, just maybe not in the same way that Aries wants to. So finding out where in your chart Aries is going to be important to see the flavor of how Jupiter is going to be supporting you, because it's going to be here, until May of next year or March. I can't remember which. Maybe March, maybe May. It's an M month, that's fine. And then for a little while, it'll retrograde back into Pisces in October, give us a little zing of the good shit again, but then it goes right back into that warrior energy. The good news is that in Aries, we have the energy to accomplish, and Jupiter makes that accomplishment so much easier. So that's cool, We're going to accomplish some stuff and we're going to feel really good about it depending on where it is in your chart, and we could go for some accomplishment right now. So really know that is working to support you in this big eclipse in Scorpio that really wants you to let go of some stuff. It really wants you to grieve some stuff. Scorpio rules the house of inheritances, shared resources, death taxes, all the things that are a little bit stickier to move through is Scorpio. Scorpio doesn't want basic bitches. I don't want to be friends with basic bitches either. I hope you don't either. You know, so the good news about Scorpio eclipse is that it is impossible to not see it. It is impossible to turn away from it. And now that might be hard depending on where this eclipse is going to fall for you. But when things feel hard this week, you need to understand, and I am here to tell you again and again and again, is that this is a level up. We don't get to the next level of our lives without clearing out the proverbial garages. And them garages be dirty, guys. Listen, we've spent all this time in COVID ignoring a bunch of stuff internally. I can guarantee it. Every single one of us is hiding something, is carrying something, is burdened by something, and not dealing. Okay, this is what we do in our day-to-day realities where we just need to get through the day, okay? But like, this is not gonna be the time where we're gonna be able to just get through the day. It's just not. You're gonna have to like really get into the day. You're gonna have to like get your hands dirty and go elbows deep in the bullshit. It sucks. I'm sorry. I hate to break it to you. I hate to break it to me. It's not like I like it either. I don't even know what's coming around the bend, but I'm trying in this Mercury retrograde to see it from a different perspective. That's a very fitting card. Here we go, guys. This is the Five of Pentacles. When I think of the Five of Pentacles, well, I think of a lot. I think of people that are in various states of grief, trauma, destruction, loss, all of those things. It's winter, it's cold, it's snow, it's hard. Why isn't it spring yet? It's supposed to be spring. Here in Ashland, it snowed for Mother's Day. So it is the winter of our discontent, that, you know, the focusing on the lack and the what we don't have is what I see, because behind us, do you see all of those pentacles? We do have. And the medicine here, and what I think I've been saying this whole video, so what's so fitting about this card is the medicine is presence. Okay? We can't control what's going to happen tomorrow. We can't control what happened to us yesterday. We can feel all of those things or none of those things. But if we don't actively focus on staying present and staying in what is now, then we kind of, you know, cheat ourselves a little bit, because if we're always stuck thinking of what it is we want and what we don't have yet, then this is the state we're creating all the time. It's a perpetual lack state. It's why there's always something you should be looking forward to in a positive way. Instead of fearing the future, instead of carrying the weight of it on our backs, we set it down and we say that today, though, how am I feeling today? If we literally, like when grief happens particularly, this is important, to take our life day by day by day. And if that's even hard, minute by minute by minute, you know, because if we're always projecting out, if we're always trying to guess, like, what's this eclipse gonna be? If we're so busy doing that and we're looking this way, then we're gonna hit the sign that's right in front of us that we weren't looking at because we weren't staying with the process. The process of our lives, the process of our unfolding. It's like people that read the last page of a book before they start it, so that if they die, they know how it ends. When Harry Met Sally. Not about those people, man. What? You are a psychopath. I don't want to read a book that I know exactly what's going to happen, just like I don't want to live my life knowing exactly what's going to happen. And if you do want that, then that's something to think about. If you really don't want any surprises in your life, or you don't want the world to come to you, then how are you actively kind of sabotaging your own life to reach a certain end? Remember that life happens while we're busy making plans. You know, no one can predict. You know, everyone when they get married thinks they're going to be married forever. Everyone when they have a brand new little baby think that relationship is going to be sacred forever. And that's just not true. Life happens to us. Bullshit happens. And then we feel like faulty human beings because there is this weird, like, high standard of you should be happily married, you should have great relationships with your kids, you should have like meaningful work. And then when we don't have those things, then we feel like, oh my God, we did something wrong in our lives. And that's not true. It's just not. It's just where you're choosing to look. They're choosing to look at the lack. You should choose to look at the pentacles. Look, because the light is always there if you create it for yourself. If you can go inside and say, I am going to choose to be righteously present in everything that is happening, the good, the bad, the ugly, okay? If you really embrace the hard, bad shit, then when the good stuff comes, you know you earned that, and you know you get to sit in that and be like, ooh, look at what I did. You know, I waged through this storm, and now I get to reap the benefits of all of my hard work. Because ultimately, you guys, I don't want anything I didn't have to work for. I don't want it handed to me, because when it gets handed to me, it gets more complicated, because then it's not just my responsibility. It's all of the people that handed it to me, or the circumstance that made it so for me. You know, it's like inheritances are great, but someone has to die. I'm just saying. Okay, I got off track a lot of it. It's Mercury, okay? Mercury's up. I'm not gonna be the best version of myself this week. I'm gonna trust that however I'm not my best, or if I misspeak, or if I say something mean, or if something gets said that's mean to me, I'm gonna try really hard to stay super present and try to always be asking the question, why? And not, why is this happening to me, in a dirtbag garbage fire kind of way, okay? I'm gonna ask, why is this happening to me, in a curious, interested way, so that I can get to a better answer, so I can get to a better me. And that's my wish for us this week and through this eclipse that's happening on Sunday, FYI. Mercury retrograde Tuesday, Aries, Jupiter going into Aries Tuesday, and then eclipse, full moon on Sunday. I really want you to ask yourself, why is this happening to me in the best way possible? And my wish for us is that we can all level up in the way that is truly necessary and good for us. I really want that for you. I want that for me too. And I hope that we all get it. Good luck out there.